Hello everybody, Emerald Troll here. Alright, so third part of the podcast. Sort of thing. I guess it's a podcast, guess it's just kind of a video where I play Pokemon and talk about the feed. Anyways, I'm just gonna do, this one's just gonna be a summary and I guess I'm gonna make some comparisons to real life to this book. Alright, so start off the book. Titus, Marty, and Link are all going to the moon because they're bored and they feel like going to the moon. Cool, right? And when they go to the moon, they meet Violet and Quendy and Castelia were there too, yeah. Right. So while they're there, they want to they see some protesters. Nothing out of the usual, right? You know, same, right? And they ignore the protesters, and I personally think that if there's nothing to protest about, well, then why are people protesting? And well, they don't really think much of it. They just kind of think it as an annoying nuisance. And so while they're there, they meet Violet. And, they just kind of talk for a good while, and they invite Violet to join them. And can I just say, they're on the moon, and, from Violet's view, they've just met these people. Or she's just met these people. And so and she just kind of goes with them. Makes no sense. And so, yes, they just kind of talk, and so they go to kind of essentially a no gravity zone or bouncy house sort of place. And there they meet kind of a hacker who I guess you could sort of call the main protagonist, something like that. There's no really good or bad in this book, I guess. But yeah, they meet, they don't meet him, but essentially touches their brains, and I guess that hacks their feed to force them to say, the end is near, and kind of a bunch of doomsday sort of things. And so that's pretty cool, right? And so essentially the police go there, they bludgeon him to death, or they bludgeon the hacker to death, and they shut off Violet, Titus's, Link, and Marty's feed, and just kind of takes them to a hospital to get their feed fixed. Which, well, as you can tell there, usually you don't go to the hospital to get your computer fixed, right? So, if your computer broke and you just were gonna die because of that, that would be concerning. Which I guess it's kind of the same for the feed, because it's if the feed breaks, you die. Or, well, you freeze. Not really dying. Anyways, continuing along with the plot, so, Titus and Violet start kind of hooking up during this period of time, they kind of find like this, well, sort of toxic room with like plants in it, which they think is really cool, and like a cool little place for them to stay, and they kiss. That's about the extent of what happens then. And they get released a couple of days later from the hospital. But Violet gets pulled to the side before they leave. And anyways, after the hospital, they go back home, and they kind of just stay home for a few days. Nothing really interesting happens here. But eventually, one of the points of the book, Violet and Titus, they go to a meat farm. And they go through a meat maze. I'm just saying, a meat maze is something I would never enter. Anyway, so they go to the meat maze, the meat farm sort of thing. Just so you know, every animal is very genetically engineered, and to maximize the amount of food they give out. And at one point or another, when they leave the meat farm, nothing really interesting happens, and at a point in the book, Titus meets Violet's dad, which he thinks was a really weird person because of the way he talked. Because he kind of talked in like big words, which are used in the English language, that are big and confusing for, someone like him, because language is often like really forgotten, really dumbed down in this book, because, everything's really being forgotten in place of just buy. Don't think, just buy more stuff from us, which is really the entirety of this book, really. It's Violet fighting the feed, Titus saying, why not? I'll join you, and then eventually Titus learning of Violet's feed being broken. And like I mentioned earlier, they don't fix Violet's feed because of how Violet was using her feed and trying to like confuse the system. So in the end, fighting the feed kind of backfired, which I kind of thought was a little sad, because it's actually interesting character. And, it's not exactly a happy book. At the very end, it ends with Violet's feed completely breaking and a message fading out that says everything must go. Now that could be for multiple meanings. Like, it could be sort of like, I don't know, It could be representing Violet's feed breaking. It could be representing how, like, Titus spends all his money because he's sad. And he just buys pants. I mean, come on. If you're gonna waste all your money, you gotta buy something useful at least. That was a joke completely, by the way. Like, anyways, back to the book. So, back to the book, they kind of just... Oh, there we go, 10 minutes is up. Well, this will be the end of the end of the segment, and probably the end of this podcast. To recap, basically, everyone is a carbon copy of each other, basically, in this book. No one really has their own personality, because they never learned how to have their own personality. Makes sense, right? I guess. But anyways, so that was my summary, my kind of podcast about the feed. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a comment below. Just say, hey, if you want me to do more of them. I got plenty of books to talk about. Anyways, see you in the next video. Bye.